more it's a friend's talk, even before being alumni Erasmus talk. I will keep an eye on the chat, so just in case, we can take some questions also from the audience, indeed. But yeah, let's maybe start introducing ourselves. So first of all, I'm very happy. So I'm talking to the audience now. I'm very happy to be, involved in these activities, to be the first one to have this Erasmus talk. And of course, I'm super happy to interview you, Eriselda, because you are a friend now. And we also have a chance to meet some years ago, right, when our friendship started, thanks to the garagErasmus Foundation, of course. So my name is Marco Cillepi. I am from Italy. I live in Poland, Katowice, where I founded the Katowice International Foundation, garagErasmus for Silesia, last year. And I work as a professional for Capgemini Poland as a service delivery manager. My guest today is Eriselda Barjamaj. She's from Albania, and she had a chance to be for a little time in Poland for her Erasmus job experience. She will, of course, tell us more about this. She comes from Albania. She currently lives in Vilnius, Lithuania. So you can see already, it's very international. It's very interesting. So I will start from there. So Eri, tell us a bit more about your journey.
My journey
to arrive in the place where you are now.
Yeah, so definitely. So actually, as Mark already explained, so I'm from Albania, and was it 12 years ago when I decided to move from my country for the purpose of studying. I found a university in Lithuania. It was a country that I never heard of before, or at least just the name. And just for the purpose of studying abroad, so decided to come here and study business administration. And then after my studies in Lithuania, I decided to go back to Albania for my first job experience, where I worked in insurance for some time. And that's where I realized that the job I was doing was not for me. And in order to figure out what I would like to do next, so I thought maybe time for masters. And I came back to Lithuania to do my masters. And during my master studies, I had the chance to go again on not a study abroad as I was already, but on an internship.
What was this master about?
My master was in international business and economics. Okay. Yeah, and so through that, then when I was looking for internships, I found this a company in Poland that they were looking for recruiters, for interns to join to the recruitment company, and that's where
we can tell the name. I think
I started. Yeah, it's Web Jobs.
Okay.
So at the time was as well quite a new company, and it was a great chance for me to start my HR and recruitment experience. So, and that was 5 years ago. Yeah, it's exactly actually 5 years ago when I went for the internship in Poland. Then after the internship, Web Jobs extended me a contract where, of course, I had to come back to Lithuania because I still had some of my a semester left from my masters and also family. But I kept working for Web Jobs for a few years from Vilnius, from my flat, and then after Web Jobs, I was looking for another challenge, and I joined 2 years ago a corporation, Western Union, where I started initially as a talent advisor, and then I got promoted to supervisory role, where I lead a team of recruiters. Right now, I'm on a break from that kind of work because just a few months ago I became a mother, and I'm taking care of my son for for a few more months.
Very
And
nice.
then going back to where I left.
Great. So this is interesting because so you mentioned a lot of
Yeah.
Topics that are related to definitely our talk,
Yeah.
because so you were always willing to travel, so for studies, but then also for working. And so even before to finish university, you already were working, and you were working like you were doing smart work, right?
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, so I was working remotely. As I said, I was working from home. Company was located in Poland. They were working with Polish and Czech Republic clients, but I was talking with them on daily basis while sitting in Vilnius. So what's happening right now in the world, where everybody needs to work from home, I did it for 3 years straight. So basically, I was quite familiar and nothing new when everything happened. So yeah, I did that for a lot of time, and I think that was quite a great chance to have flexible working hours and be able to work in an international environment and work with colleagues that were sitting in different countries. Because as well, we had the chance to meet once in a while, face to face. So it gave us that feeling of traveling and making our own schedule in a way, which I think it will be the future starting from now. Yeah.
So for me, this is interesting because we will talk later about this, new situation that we are facing with this COVID.
Yeah.
Because of course, this is something no one expected, and now it's part of our life. So we need to look at the potential job market with this, I would say, factor. It is COVID, the smart work, and then we will comment a bit also on the difference between smart work and telework. But it's interesting to hear that already 5 years ago, you as a student, as an international student, were given trust. Work from home with a flexible working time, and this helped you a lot to develop as a professional, and now you are a people manager in a big corporate like it's Western Union. Great, good. So I would like now to go a bit more into your, let's say, triggers that make you think, yes, okay, I was studying or I was working in insurance. I like something more international. I like interacting with people, I guess. So human resources is my future, is where I want to develop. And then, of course, it would be great if for our audience, you will explain us a bit about what is human resources.
So actually, yeah, I would like to tell a bit more broadly about my story, because maybe a lot of people find themselves, or maybe this will give them some idea or direction to reflect. Actually, since childhood, my dad wanted me to be in finance. And for some reason, I happen to like as well, because I was always good in science classes.
Numbers, I guess.
Numbers, yeah. All science classes, I would get good grades without effort. So, basically, and that was the idea, that I would study finance. In just a few months before my high school graduation, I found this university in Lithuania, and I kind of traded finance with business administration, because they didn't have a program in finance, for just the idea to go abroad and study abroad. But still, even after I finished my studies, I wanted to work. I was looking for jobs in accounting, in auditing. And when I went back to Albania, so actually I was not that lucky to find a job like that. And initially for 3 months, I worked in sales in insurance. And then a position was open in the finance department, and I applied and I got it. So I was working in the finance department. My role was more of a compliance, not really finance, but I was working with accountants all day. And that's where I realized I don't like
I
accounting.
don't want to do it.
Exactly. So I didn't do it myself, but I don't like to do it. And that's why I was looking for a change. And during that experience, actually, my first touch, let's say, at HR in a way, was just that as an employee, I attended few career fairs on behalf of the company. So where I had to meet people that were interested in our company, and I had to tell them more about the company, but nothing more deep as that. And then so the same thing. So then when I came and I was studying my master's, then I was looking for jobs in consultancy. Because I realized that I'm very good at analytical skills. So I would like to stay to that analysis and so on. But also I would like to be a bit on the spotlight, talk. And I did an internship actually in a consultancy company here in Vilnius. And right after that, when I was looking for an Erasmus internship, so I found the internship in recruitment. So that's where I actually realized that, okay, recruitment seems nice, kind of fits me. It has it's quite a, let's say, complex position, because some people might think that it involves just the interviewing, but it's a position for introverts as well. I consider myself as one of them, because it involves a lot of listening. It's just a bit of talking, but it's more of listening, understanding, advising.
There is this psychological part, right?
Yes,
Aspect of
yes.
the recruitment of the human resource job, because you deal with humans.
Yes, but on the other side, I would say, because for example, and I'll talk a bit about HR as well, but the idea, at least what I think, is that HR in general is more of a position that if you have finished, let's say, psychology, you're good to enter HR. But it's quite broad, and I think no matter what you have studied, if your personal attributes fit, you can be quite good in the field of HR. So as I was with recruitment, so I definitely believe that I have the business mindset, and studying business. So I know how, let's say, a bit of bits and pieces of how things work on a lot of stuff. And I believe it helped me even accounting classes that I took, even marketing classes with the recruitment, because it involves a lot of, let's say, organizing, a lot of marketing as well, because you do a lot of headhunting.
You are promoting a job, right? When you are
You are
working.
promoting a job, yeah, definitely. So and you need a variety of skills to be able to do that. Also, then, if we talk about HR in itself, so it involves so many different functions within the HR. So I'm talking about recruitment because that's my specialty and that's where I am. But even in recruitment, it involves sourcing, which is going out there, and it's quite outbound, searching for people and trying to attract them. Involves as well inbound marketing, how to get people, branding a bit. On the other side, there is HR specialists. They deal more with, let's say, administrative part. They write contracts. They need to know and have some skills on, let's say, employment laws and policies. Yeah, they provide as well some help to the employees to understand and follow those policies, both law in terms of laws or company-wise. Then there is, onboarding specialists. There is a lot of, especially the big companies, they have programs for providing training and development. So that's part of HR as well, that helps with that. HR also works with a lot of technologies. So there are people that need to work on those systems and help everyone that works to to know how to use those systems and help with
technical jobs, I will say, also in the HR, right?
It's quite technical, I would say. On the other side, there is data, and I think this is quite where HR, it's quite new. Let's say the data analytics in HR, but it's very important, and I think all companies are shifting towards that, to understand the data about your own employees, and then find ways. So it's quite strategic position. Then find ways of how you can use the data to improve the let's say the workplace, the well-being of your employees. Then there is, of course, and that's as well another thing where HR is moving, is business partners, basically. So it's an HR person that understands how HR works, but needs to be quite understanding the business and being a strategic partner of the business, and making those work hand in hand. How people can be more satisfied, and in that way, how can we make the workforce more productive? So all of these are basically HR.
HR related, yes.
Yes, and for example, I know stories and I have friends that moved from an IT position, totally providing IT, to HR. So it really can be all kinds of fields that could be incorporated into HR.
Okay, so I think what we are learning here is that you don't need to study HR to become an HR professional.
No, I'm not sure. Probably now might be some programs here and there, but it's not really widely spread having an HR degree. I think so. It's really just few. Might be in the future that those programs will grow, and why not? I remember in my bachelor, I had a class. It was human resources management. I don't remember anything, though. I'm not sure, but at the time, so basically, I was not very familiar with HR in general. So I got to know those things when I entered into the field.
Great. So this is for me, I think, a good message we are sending, because not only you don't need to study it, but what I think it's your also experience, you need to try things, you need to taste.
Yes, and that's not only about HR, I would say.
For life, right?
It's for life, basically, yeah. So I don't think, because a lot of us, and I was as well, when you finish your studies, you're thinking, I need to search for a job that is related to my studies. But as I mentioned, so some of them might have studied those studies because we're really passionate about, and why not? So all careers are fine. Some could be that for the parents, and some could be that I have no idea what to study, so I'm choosing the first thing that comes to my mind.
I completely feel you, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, we follow what maybe someone think or someone is successful in it.
Yeah.
We find our place where we like to be successful, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but not necessarily that thing it fits with you as a person. And life is too short to stay in a career that you don't like. And also, so if you stay in a career that you don't like, you don't have that much chances, because you're not too motivated to perform, to even grow within it. So definitely you can choose and I think a best way to try is through internships. So it's a great opportunity. Let's say that Erasmus provides even funds so that people could not just only try an internship that could be even a different field from what they're studying, just to see why not. And they might realize that they really love what they're studying and they want to go with that, but they might realize that maybe this is a career that I could see myself in the future. But on the other side, I believe it's really great. Talking from my perspective, the best thing that my parents have done for me is to send me study abroad. Because
efforts, to send you abroad, right?
Yeah, because that's where I actually get to know myself. It really helped me in shaping the person I am today.
How old were you when you went first time abroad?
I was
I believe.
19, and actually until that point, I never went abroad, even on holidays.
But that was brave, 19.
Yeah, it was, I think, and especially going to a country that also had that a post-Soviet Union. So you'd be a bit scared in a way, what to expect. Also, I'm from Albania. My city has 300 days of sun, and I came to Lithuania where it's like
300
cold.
days of rain.
Yeah, where it's like it was the first year I was here. It reached in January minus 26. So basically, it's not that bad now. So it's quite warm. Thanks.
Climate is changing,
Yeah,
unfortunately, or yeah.
I'm for yeah. It has a lot of controversial that topic. But yeah, so basically, I would that was quite changing experience for me, and from that started everything else then of me wanting to be abroad, and getting to know other cultures as well helps you shape the person that you are, so that when I went back to Albania after 4 years abroad, I didn't feel like I was
You
Albanian.
say.
I felt a bit, I belong half, but half I'm not Albanian, so it changes you in a way, but I think that's a great experience for everyone to get to know themselves. In my case, it really was for the positive. It increased my self-esteem, my confidence. Yeah.
And I believe also, Eriselda, during this experience abroad, your all your experiences abroad, so in Lithuania, in Poland, etc., you learned also for the international people, right? Because you said about cultures, but I'm sure that in your company or in your previous job, there were a lot of different nationalities or interns like you were, and then you
Yeah,
employee.
yeah. So I had that basically. The university I went to study, it was totally international. It has more than 30 nationalities that I was meeting. Then during that time, I had a chance as well to go on summer abroad in US, which was a different experience. A lot of international people. With jobs where I was working, Western Union is as well very international. Where I work in Lithuania. I don't speak Lithuanian, even though majority of the employees are Lithuanian, because the company is situated here. But there are quite a lot of foreigners, and we speak English. So I don't feel like, let's say, I need to know Lithuanian.
This is something more that we are learning, that it applies to me as well. I live in Poland, I don't speak Polish, and I
Yeah,
live here since a while, and
yeah.
it didn't prevent me to
Mm-hmm.
build a career. Like in your case, you were chosen among Lithuanian, maybe, or like I was chosen among other people from the city,
Yeah.
because of our skills, because of our values. So this is also something it's worth to mention. This is
Mm-hmm.
great. I will take a look on the chat because I see some questions popped up, and maybe some of those questions are already in my list. So maybe
Okay.
let's have our audience also interacting with us. So we have a first question from Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
So as an HR employee, what are and this is you, of course, what
Mm-hmm.
are the qualities that employers appreciate more in a candidate? So very good one. I know it varies from job to job, but in general, and also especially in the globalized market.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, how appreciated is actually the voluntary work? Very good questions. In a CV, especially that a lot of internship are unpaid as or as a voluntary position.
So let's start with the first one, basically. What is actually appreciated, and I think a lot of companies, because I've worked with different clients and I can talk, and from my experience in being in touch with other HR specialists, is that what I would value, it's the motivation that the person shows. It's really about their personality. If you're motivated for a job, from my experience, I've hired people that uh, did not have the technical skills for a position, but they had the hunger for knowledge. They were really passionate about that. They wanted to move into that field, and just about that enthusiasm that they showed. We gave a chance, and then those people stayed for long. And so I would say it's really passion, motivation, enthusiasm that you show about the position, even though you might not have experience. And what I would advise my candidates was, you have to just, research classes are very helpful. You need to do your research about the position that you're applying. And even some, if it's an entry-level position, even some theoretical knowledge would really, really get you quite far, and even land you that job. Voluntary experience is a definitely huge plus. So I would actually mention that if you want to enter into a career, let's say HR, usually if I had to hire in my team, we hire people that already have that experience. But how can you enter HR if you don't have that experience, right? Through voluntary work. So if you had a voluntary work that is related to the field, you are considered, and that would be considered as part of your experience. So we'll at least land you an interview to see then about your motivation, which would fill the full thing. But it means it's very important. And I would advise, let's say, or encourage everyone that if you have chances to do internships while you're studying, do as many as you can. Or if you already find which field you'd like to be in, do a lot in that field, and then it will be quite easy for you to have a job that even requires experience. So yes.
Yeah, and I feel to advise also that when you do this internship or this voluntary work, try to do it at least for 6 months, because I feel minimum will be 3 months, but I always see also in my experience that 3 months is never enough to bring the results and to bring your experience in that level, to be able to talk about this in the next job interview that you will have. So for sure, internship 6 months is the right time. When it's paid, it can be even more, even 1 year.
Yeah.
And in general, I will not switch a job. I will not switch the experience after 3 months, because it's also showing that you cannot know this job already, in my opinion, right? You need to really explore this job before to say I don't like as well, right?
Yes, but I'm quite in a different opinion, because sometimes you might decide that that's totally not for you. You might need more. Yeah, you might need more time if it's a career that, I can do this. And then if you go deeper, then it's a different understanding. But there are some jobs that you understand from the beginning that they're not for you. So in that case, I would advise that
you will not torture yourself.
That you live, basically. And because it's very good that you do this while you are an intern, rather than when you have a real job experience, you join a company and then you leave shortly. It's quite not very likable, even though it's nothing bad with that as well.
I mean, you show maturity, right? You show also some
because one thing that employers are looking for is as well your commitment. And if someone sees on your CV that you're changing your employer every few months, that shows that she or he gonna change me as well. So why should I trust that person that they'll stay for long with my company? So yeah, because joining the company invests quite a lot on your training. So all the few months you're not giving anything to the company they're investing. And then after they finish their investment, their return goes to zero because you're leaving. So so the commitment is very important as well. But while you are student internships, you're allowed and
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I
fine.
agree. Yeah, and definitely maybe to prevent this to happen, it's always good, as you said, to prepare for the job so that you even know before to apply if this is really, if you have a strong motivation or not. Because when you have a strong motivation, it will be hard that this is just not for you, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
try.
yeah, yeah. So if you really love something, research will help you understand a bit more about the field also, and research will help you even when you go to an interview to ask the right questions. Let's say a lot of people sometimes might start a job and then realize, oh, this is not what I thought, uh, and that's a bit your fault because you didn't ask the right questions to understand what that was, or because every employer explains to you what the job is. So it's your responsibility to go deeper because they think you understand what they're explaining.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you should ask more questions. But if you haven't researched the field, you don't know what to ask. So that's another thing that before going to an interview, research is very important. And alongside with and this would show motivation if you had researched the company that you're going, their culture, how they work. And now it's pretty easy to find all that information. All companies are trying to advertise on their social media sites and pages. So you can find a lot of material there. Their websites have a lot of information, even in the
Great.
news. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say that this should always be a win-win situation
Yeah.
for employer and, of course, a
Yeah.
candidate. Okay, let's move to the next question because I would like really to take all of them for you, Eris. So we have Antonio that is
Mhm.
asking, while screening CVs, which is the part of the resume you focus on the most? And then he's asking how important is the active LinkedIn profile?
So when you take as a recruiter, you have a role that you are advertising. So you have the basic requirements that you're looking for. And when you screen a CV, it's really very quick, this process for the recruiters. And that's why from your side, I would advise that you really write clearly and adjust your CV to the position that you're looking for. And while you're writing about your responsibilities, try to speak with the language that they have spoken in the job description, so that those basic requirements will pop there out. So what I'm looking for is the skills I'm looking. So I just check everything to find those words in your CV. If you have that experience, I see the title. If the title doesn't tell me anything, I go a bit deeper in what were your responsibilities. But really, it's a screening. So I don't read everything quite extensively. But pretty much everything, I try to see everything in the CV quite fast if you meet the basic requirements. Then if you meet that, of course, it goes a bit deeper look to your CV before the screening interview, then to be able to understand and ask you more questions.
So we can say there is no a real specific part, but it's about the
No.
word.
Everything matters.
Everything.
Everything matters, and that's why you need to write in the right way. Because if I pop very quickly that you have the skills I'm looking for, you already landed a screening interview.
Yeah, definitely.
And the response. So it's really quite quick. If I don't see anything of what I'm looking for, and for example, I'll give an example. It was a time when I was looking for customer service specialist, and a lot of people, sometimes I gave the chance to them because it was an entry-level position, but the CV didn't tell me nothing. And while talking to them, they told me that they worked as waitress, and they were worked on some, let's say, some things that they were doing, extracurricular activities in their university, and all of them involved communication with the other party, waitress as well as in a way customer service. And these were not on the CV. And I even asked, why is that not on the CV? You're applying for customer service. This was customer service in a way. It's so you need to really think about your experiences and put the ones that really matter for that position.
So in that case, you were acting as a consultant for the company.
Yeah, so especially if you're working in an agency, you do advise a lot the candidates, so it's a bit more helpful for them to how to make their CV better, and then how to perform into the interviews. Okay, so the other question is, how important is to have an active LinkedIn profile? From my experience so far, not that important if your CV is good. The only thing why I would say it's very important is if headhunters want to contact you. So if you want to be contacted from recruiters, then LinkedIn profile is very important. But if you're interested in just the jobs that you're finding and you'd like to apply, so for example, if I get a CV, I don't check the LinkedIn profile, but when I go to LinkedIn, because I need people for a certain position, and if your position is not active, is not filled fully, you wouldn't show in the searches that the recruiters make, and that they could offer you.
Sorry for cutting. You are referring to updated, because because now me personally, I'm not updating anymore my LinkedIn, but I am active in LinkedIn. So this is.
So maybe I didn't understand right? Very well. So active, they mean.
I'm wondering what is the question from what really exactly was Antonio meaning, but I think there are two points: to have an updated profile and to be active on LinkedIn, right?
Okay, so active meaning by posting on LinkedIn,
I guess, or sharing.
That's not important at all if you're active in that.
Okay.
So for a recruiter, no, because even I myself, so sometimes I try to be active if I have something to share, but if I don't necessarily need to be active in LinkedIn. But an updated profile is important. Yeah, it's very important if you want to be contacted for job opportunities that probably you never thought and you could never find yourself, but they're finding you, and it could be the opportunity of your life. So take a chance on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I hope we answered to these questions from Antonio. And let's move forward, because there are a lot of questions. So
okay.
We need to
let's go quick then.
Take care of them. So we have Carlo. I think this is our Carlo, actually, from garagErasmus.
Okay.
Did you feel you had a strong turning point when you moved to HR, or you felt it was more a kind of dynamic process? Interesting.
So initially, it was basically when I was doing the internship at the time was just, I'm doing my internship. It's a job I like, and didn't think much, let's say. But when it was approaching the end, and as I took more responsibilities, I really, that was the time when I really liked, let's say, the HR part, because I was not just, let's say, doing the interviews itself. This is our screening CVs. But then, as Marco said, became more of a consultant to the candidates, became more of a relationship builder with the clients.
Like the manager, maybe, yeah?
Yeah. So I had more responsibilities, and then that's when I realized that, I really like HR. On my current company as well, so I was more as a talent advisor. It was really interesting for me to advise, to provide trainings for the managers on how to perform the interviews, to also coach my team, because now I move more into the management position, and that's really where I would like to move further, but someone else might want to move more into the technical part, let's say, of recruitment or HR. So I'm not sure how it went, basically. I think it came steady. It didn't come like as an aha moment.
Great. Thank you, Eri. Okay, I hope we satisfied Carlos' curiosity.
Okay.
So then we have Anastasia that is asking, what tips would you advise for passing online interviews?
So I would say that the first
Maybe just
interview
2-3 points quickly.
yeah, the first interview that you have with a recruiter, it's either usually online or on the phone. So both sides. On online, probably you'd need to be more presentable with a video. So it's important to check before those technical sides, make sure that you are heard correctly. I've had a lot of, let's say, those online, and because of we couldn't hear each other that well, we probably could have misunderstood each other, and it doesn't get very well. The interview doesn't go well just because of that. So this would be, I think, on the online part, and then everything else has to be the same as a face-to-face interview. So you really have to show your real self, motivation, and enthusiasm and skills, and sell yourself. So this would be, I think, when you are on the phone, of course, you need to show that the enthusiasm. It's a bit difficult if they don't see your face, but the tone need to be more emphasized while you're talking, so that you could show that you're really happy. And of course, the language that you choose, it's very important also. So
The wording,
it has to be the wording, yeah, and it has to be in a way formal language. Sometimes, because the recruiters are quite friendly, a lot of candidates go to a more friend zone. Yeah, friend zone. It's the recruiter side to make you feel very good and comfortable, but it shows a bit about your personality. It still has to be a professional conversation.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And I would add on this that for sure, a tip, guys, take note who you are talking about. The name of the recruiter, the name of the manager, because sometimes it's like, with who do you talk? I don't know. Come on.
Yes, that as well.
Okay, great. Even I would say, Eriselda, maybe an advice could be to check on LinkedIn. Who is this person you're going to have the interview tomorrow?
Yes. Actually, I've got a lot of times that I get invitations or even viewed from candidates that I've contacted, and that's nothing wrong, actually.
Don't be shy, guys. Do it.
Yeah, don't be shy. When I see a candidate like that, it doesn't feel like, oh, they were stalking me. No, that's fine. So you researched me before because you prepared for this interview that you're coming.
So it's actually a good, very good.
It's a good thing, yeah.
Great. So hope we also somehow reply Anastasia. So now we have Uyu that is asking, in some interviews, the job seeker might aim for a certain position, but the HR decides to put him to another position and praises that this is a temporary arrangement, and the job and this job seeker will have a chance to move to the position he wants. From your experience, Eriselda, in this case, how much possibility the job seeker can really go to his preference, and how this job seeker can consider whether to take the risk or not?
So yeah, that's a very good question, actually, because I've had a lot of experiences like that as well.
Okay.
A lot of times the job seeker, and I'll say this with confidence, asks for a position, but unfortunately you might not meet the skills for that position. You're still not experienced, and as a recruiter they still valued you for your personality, and they don't want, let's say, to lose you in a way, and they're offering you, let's say, a downside, a more entry-level position, but that basically it's a good way for you to move to that other role later on when you build that experience. So it's really, I would see, a good thing. I had my experience myself when I was talking to the recruiter for the I applied for a position as well in recruitment, and they didn't hire me. And a few months later, they contacted me and they offered the position that I ended up in. So it was the same, and I thought, why not? So they found me fit for that role, and sometimes they are the experts, and they could see really a match, because if you go into a deep interview with a recruiter, they understand for you not only your skills, but understand a bit more about your personality,
Your potential.
and thinking about that, and employers as well. Besides that, they see how good would you fit with the team also. What's the overall team vibe, and how you'd be adding value to that team.
Yeah, the chemistry, right?
It's about the chemistry, but it's as well the balance into the terms of skills. So if everyone would know Excel, probably if I want to hire a new one, it's fine to not be too much into technical side. I need someone that is more active, more communication skills emphasized, and so on. So I think it's a really a good thing, unless if you definitely would not want and try, you can always reject that situation. If you'd move to what you were aiming, probably I cannot talk for sure, because you might change your mind as well. So
Yeah, maybe you will discover something about
you
it.
discover that you might not like that position, but a lot of times if there is an opportunity, then you can always apply. There are always internal politics in different companies of if a position internally opens, you could have a chance and be eligible and
Okay.
apply.
Okay, so I think this is a good starting point, and definitely you always look also at the company you're going to join, right? If it's a
Exactly,
good company, it doesn't
yes.
really matter the first, because you can build a career on that.
Yeah, and see,
Okay.
basically, if this company offers you growth opportunities,
Yeah.
if they offer you growth opportunities, then most likely you'll have the chance to go. If it's really, let's say, a company that, from what you have read on the internet, doesn't have a lot of movement, probably you might have the chance, but in a longer period. So it really depends on how fast as well you want to go to that position.
Okay, great. So next question is, what about Lenovo? What about virtual internships? Are they appreciated too? Yeah, maybe we can answer this quickly. What is your experience with virtual internship? What do you think, Eriselda?
I think it doesn't matter if you worked virtually or in the office. If you acquire the skills that are needed, you basically in the interview will sell those skills. So and I would not ask them that, oh, but you worked virtually and maybe you don't have those skills. No, no way. So it's really, it's the same. It's appreciated the same as an internship. It's all about how much you learn during that
Yeah.
internship.
Okay. So, and this actually was your experience that you were doing
Yeah,
as
yeah. So
okay. Next one from Javed. As a talent acquisition officer, do you think there is a difference in hiring process for EU and non-EU, so European Union citizens or not? And how high, low are the chances of foreigners being hired, especially after this COVID?
well, I cannot say anything in regards to COVID and how this will be affected, but the only difference hiring EU and non-EU, it always depends on how urgent is the role, basically. And yeah, it's sometimes difficult to hire someone that is non-EU just because they do not have the eligibility to start working immediately. When a company is looking for a person, is because someone else is leaving, or if they're growing, it's always quite urgent. And we recruiters are faced with that. I need someone as soon as possible. And that's the reason that they would probably prefer, if they have two candidates, EU and non-EU, with the same level of skills, they would prefer the EU, because they would be able to start tomorrow or in a week or in 2 weeks. But with the non-EU, depends on the country politics and laws that they have in terms of the documents. But especially in Lithuania, it will take 2 to 4 months, and waiting to fill that position 2 to 4 months, it's not always the right decision. But if it's a position, for example, that there are quite scarce skills to find in the market, you are given a chance as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And of course, now with this COVID, I can tell you, because I'm working in this situation,
Okay.
it's even harder, because now some countries, they give there is not even, this
There is
European.
no traveling.
There is no, so for example, everything is frozen. You need to look only really on the country. So it's a bit harder, but we all hope that this will be soon, slowly releasing. Okay.
I think we have just 10 more minutes, so we need to go a bit quick.
Yes, I agree with you. So, and of course, we can maybe take something offline. Julia is asking, how would you, as someone who is offering a job position, view a candidate that changed his or her career study path? I think you already replied this.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. So the only thing it's for you, if you take that decision to change your career path, it's probably that you would start from the start. And the only thing, it might affect your financial situation, I would say, because starting from an entry-level position again, that means that the salary offered would be on that level. But if you're fine with that from the company,
there is an investment to do, basically.
From employer side, there is nothing wrong to change your career.
Okay. Then we have another question. What kind of question you suggest? I think that, here maybe the answer is that it depends from the job. We cannot.
It really depends from the job. You need to ask, you need to research, as I said. So if you research the company, those questions would really find, you need to ask questions that would tell you more about the position. And in that way, you'd show that you are really interested in that position. You're going deep and you need to know more about the role itself. So that would be the kind of questions that you need to ask.
Great, thanks. How to choose companies for internship to have a chance to be permanent, and as it's your last years of studies, so yeah.
Can't tell about that actually. It really depends, but just one tip, but
you should just ask.
Yeah, not sure if it works. You ask during the interviews if there is a chance to stay longer, or basically you check their career side. Are they always having opportunities? So if it's a huge company, they might have possibilities, and usually just sharing at my company, we have as well internship programs, and if I'm not mistaken, half of those interns, they tend to stay with the company and join a position. So it really depends, but asking would be a great.
Yeah, and then definitely, ask directly. And then, of course, my recommendation is do your best, be great. And
you need as well to perform during that internship in order to have a good reference.
Yes, they will not let you go if you're showing. It happened to me to have, even for 3 months, some great people, good student working for me, and I was praying them to stay. And then, maybe it was. Okay, so you know what? I will pick questions for these last minutes, just to make sure that we are taking something more not covered. So what do we have here? Again, a question regarding a EU passport. I think
I answered, I think, that one.
This may be interesting. Do you think it's better to have a simplified CV with less information? I think maybe the answer is here, few information, but the important
thing. Very precise. So basically, you need to have your experiences, your titles, and where you're working, also the timelines that you're working, and also very shortly you need to tell your responsibilities, but if there are responsibilities that are not related to the position that you're applying for, you don't need to add those. So the responsibilities that were related to the position you're applying.
So basically quality against quantity. So we want quality.
And CV has to be 1 page.
So maybe 2.
If you are too experienced and you have many years of experience, then could go to 2, but it needs to be short.
So let's go for 1.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this was the question from Carolina. Then what do we have?
Speaking different languages, I think if it's a position with languages, then probably would give you a plus. So yeah, there are a lot of jobs that require you to speak certain languages. This is a plus. Definitely would give you some chances.
Yeah, because also maybe the company can think about additional task, or you are more flexible, speaking more languages. So maybe it's
But right now, because a lot of companies are working internationally, so they want people to be responsible for different markets. So let's say you're looking, they're looking for a person that speaks English. That's perfect. And if you speak French as well, would be quite a plus for you because you'd handle the French market also.
Yeah.
So it gives you something if it's a position that requires communication with the customers or dealing with different markets.
Great, thank you. So meantime, Antonio said this posting on about LinkedIn. Then we have tips about CV and cover letter. Yeah, I think we spoke already about this, and for sure.
Yeah, cover letter, not all the companies require, but if it's required, so it really does not have to write the CV, because I'll mention this. A lot of people do write what is on the CV, that I have this experience, I studied this and that. No, it has to show why are you motivated, basically, and your goal. Why are you applying, and what's your, let's say, future? Where would you like to head, and how this experience will help you go to your goal, and that should meet the goal of the position you're applying for. So it's really interconnected. And also, how are you going to contribute to this role?
Very good. Yeah.
Very, very precise, very short, half a page, 1 page maximum if you have a lot, but really you don't need to write your CV in the cover letter.
Yeah, because some people tend to put in the...
Just with words, yeah, in a SF form, but they write the CV.
Yeah, they say, why you want the job? Because I have experience. No, it's not because you have experience.
Yeah.
We want to know the why you want this job. Okay, so
any tips on video interviews? I think we covered this a bit.
Yes.
What can we do if we don't have 2 or 3 references as young graduates? That's a good question as well. Especially big companies, they ask for a lot of references. But basically they're quite flexible in terms of who can give you a reference. So it could be your professors, I believe, that could give you references also. If you had internships, you could have people that you worked with at the internship, and you'd be able to provide those references in a way. But if you really, it depends on your personal case, and you can discuss with the company, and if they're willing to accept less references, probably they would let you know. So yeah, but a lot of companies, they have a policy and they need to have those references. But they're quite flexible in terms of, could be a colleague of yours. So if you had an internship, you already have the manager in that internship and a colleague. So it's already two references.
Or can it be maybe some colleague that you work?
Yeah, colleague. Yeah,
student in a student's.
Exactly. Another student fellow, professor. Could be 2 or 3 professors.
It's about being creative also on creating connection, but it's always about connections, right? That can help references.
Yes.
Great. Then Chiara is asking how international experience can be highlighted. So of course, we know they are useful, but how can they be highlighted inside the CV?
Very good point. So basically, when you're writing about your, I worked as a sales representative in this company, and then you're writing about your, a bit detailed about your responsibilities. So you actually could mention, I worked on this kind of projects, this, let's say, how big, the achievements that you had, and covered this and this and this market, for example. So mention the country that you worked with. If you have been on an Erasmus or in a study abroad, definitely it's on your studies, it should be there. That and mention the country, basically, where you have been to do that Erasmus program or the internship. So really mention, but if you're working in a local company and you were working with international markets, write it down.
Very good, very good. So I hope we answered Chiara.
Yeah.
And then we have our last question from Pfizer.
Okay.
In your idea, as a recruiter, does somebody with a short-time experience in many companies seem more eligible than somebody with long-term experience in few companies?
I'd say it depends. It's subjective what short time means. If it's 3 months or 6 months, it's probably not, doesn't really look good. But if it's a year and up experience, and if you changed, I think it will be fine. But for example, if it's, let's say, positions as a specialist, if you have 1 year, 2 years, 2 years would be ideal at least, but even 1 year it's fine. If you are then in a managerial position and you were as a manager for 1 year and moved in another company for 1 year, this still doesn't look very very good. But 1 year plus would be fine. Against somebody that has 5 years in the same position, probably that's not good as well. If it's an entry level position and you stayed for 5 years in the same position, unless you change the responsibilities and you're covering more scope into that. So I don't have a, let's say, a precise answer into that. It really depends on how exposed were you to and how diverse were you, the skills that you're working with. But it doesn't look good to move very often.
Yeah. So we need to be sometimes also patient. Go for our target, but be also patient.
Yes,
We cannot get everything the same day.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another question that I got in private.
Okay.
What's the position of HR industry about people who are in a risk group due to COVID? And I believe that this is more about, I can tell you my experience on this, and then of course you tell your opinion. I don't see any impact on these categories of people because, you know, in my company, we are onboarding online, doing everything online. So with certain people, I just never interacted because we are really caring a lot about this. So I don't see an impact. So what's a position in the HR industry? Maybe everyone, but I'll let you answer, of course.
If I understand it correctly, so if it's a position that they are in...
kind of role in this HR industry, it's more for this category. Maybe there is not a specific role, I would say.
It's not a specific role, so I would say everyone could be eligible. So there is no, I cannot say that there is a specific role. HR is pretty good to be perform the tasks virtually, actually. So because and everything, and I talked a bit. So the future of HR would be also some tasks will be even robotized and automated. So, and a lot of tasks are made online, even now. And then that's moving to the direction. So I don't think there would be any effect into that.
Great, thank you. So I think that we came to an end with the Erasmus Alumni talk with Eriselda Barjamaj, and it was really interesting. I think some message pop up. Yeah, they're just thanks. So I thank on behalf of the audience and on behalf of garagErasmus Foundation.
It was my pleasure, actually, and I really hope that some of the people got the answers that they were looking for.
Yeah, I'm sure that they will get treasure of these tips that you shared with us, and who knows, maybe someone will approach you on LinkedIn and
feel free.
and checking which. But as you said, you're not yet live. You have a bigger project now on your life. You will be back. I would say, guys, get in touch with your organizers. So you know, me and Eriselda, we are really the job market nowadays is, I think it's a really 50-50, just like we need people and you look for a job. So I think this is really the situation now. It's a mutual need and pleasure. So I would say once again, thank you so much, and good evening to everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.